Okay, so Mark, this is the headrest. I'm just going to bring it in, do a quick Camtasia and show you how it's flattened. So I'll just bring in the headrest because that's the simplest part, and but all the parts will be done the same. Just bring it in. We'll create pieces, and I can either select pieces one at a time, or if I want, I can just go create piece and then hit create all, and it's going to create all those pieces. I believe there's 5 of them. Yeah, there's 5 of them that make up the headrest. Just hit the green checkbox, go in to convert to flat, and this is actually going to take the SolidWorks model and create it retessellate it and make it an exact flat mesh. And I'm going to select the material. This is a leather headrest, for instance. Just hit OK. Changes the color of the headrest to red, which is my leather color. Um, go into the flattener, and I simply hit uh, this optimize button. And it's going to go through and basically on the left hand side here you see the 3D model, and over here are the 2D pieces that it's flattening, and here's the progress on the pattern status. So it's taken into consideration the leather material and how leather, the yaw on the left of the leather, so how it stretches and basically applies those characteristics to the flattening algorithm, and that's how we get very accurate flat patterns. And it's pretty quick. So, I mean, the headrest is fairly small. We've got these last 2 pieces, which is this piece and this piece here, and it's finished. So once all those pieces are flattened and the optimization here is complete, 100%, I just hit OK. And then that's going to bring us into our pattern view. I call it the pattern view. And here's our pattern pieces, and I'm going to use the move tool, and we have a find button here. And what I'm going to do, just make a 4-inch space between the pieces, so it'll I guess I have to activate the tool first. There, 4 inches. So it's going to create a 4-inch gap between these pieces, or so I can add seams in after. So I'm just going to go through, and it's going to find adjoining pieces. So um, that piece goes there, and this other piece goes here, and there's probably a piece down here, and the piece up here. Oops. Sometimes it takes a second to find the pieces, but it'll find it. Unless it's, it might be a joint to this piece. Yep, it was. Okay, so now I've got all the pieces there. Just close this out. Then I'm gonna zoom in so you can see the next part would be adding notches or seams. So I just go into the seam tool, and I simply go around, and as I click edges, it's going to add seams on these pieces. So this edge, and this is how the sewer would sew these pieces like that. And just hit the green checkbox here. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to um, six notches, and it'll update automatically. But as you can see, the notches line up exactly how the pieces would get sewn together. So that gives the sewer's indication how the piece gets to go together. And once I've done all my seams and stuff, I just again hit the green checkbox, and maybe the next thing I want to do is add, well, maybe I want to make a drawing. So I can go in here, make a drawing from the part. So I can make a drawing from this part. Just select the sheet size, drag my piece in, and I'm gonna actually leave the color, so I'll shade it. And then I do things like create a piece table, and a piece table just if I had different the 5 different pieces are gonna show up on here. I'll just make that a little bit bigger so you can see that it's got the indication, the piece ID and the piece name. And next thing I'd want to do is maybe create material table, there's the only one material is the leather. So I can create a, I'll just size that up a bit. And maybe the next thing I want to do is a notch table for all those notches. So that could give assembly instructions or instructions to the sewer. It'll tell them where to put the notches. So if I zoom in, you can see it's a V quarter-inch notch and it has a notch ID. Um, and finally, maybe what I'm going to do is just do a quick notch balloon. So notch balloons are they call them magnetic. So I just click on an edge and it pulls up the two notches and it actually has a notch ID on each 1.1.1 and 1.1.2, and those would relate over here to the notch ID table over here. So the last thing you're probably going to want to do, I'll just click that off. I'm going to exit out of here, and I'm not going to save that, but next thing I'd probably want to do is send this to my cutter or to my plotter. And how I do that is I would go into my marker view, and I've set up the marker to have 10 sets. So it basically automatically compacts that. Um, this is manual nesting. We do have automatic nesting, but this is manually nesting. This is what you would get. I would simply export this out, and I can save it to whatever cutter I have. Let's say in my case, we have an Eastman cutter, so I'm going to export it to the Easy Cut or Eastman machine. It has all the information that the Eastman machine needs to cut this pattern piece out. Once I hit export, and it's going to create an auto-generated marker, and this says that it was successfully exported, so I can simply go in and I don't have my I can show you what it would look like. I'll show you what the DXF file would look like. So auto-generated marker is here, and it's just telling me that my cutter isn't hooked up. But there's my marker view, and that basically is what the markers look like for the headrest. As you can see, it's going to have all the information, the piece ID on it. It's going to have the seam allowance, it's going to have the notches, and it's going to have a grain line. So the grain line is basically the direction of the leather. And that's how easy it is to take one of your scans and create a headrest that can be, scanned and flattened and sent to a cutter, within an hour or so. If you have any questions, give me a call, 705-670-4459. Look forward to um, doing a demonstration online with the customer, and hopefully you had a great Christmas. I'll talk to you soon.